Diversity. It's something talked about in every aspect of society, but often left out is viewpoint diversity, especially when it comes to our college campuses. What is viewpoint diversity? Where is it? And what can colleges do to make it more prevalent? Here on Face the Issues, we're going to sit down with two college students to talk about those questions and more. All of that coming up right here, right now. I'm Sam Chen, and this is Face the Issues. Good evening and welcome to Face the Issues. I'm your host, Sam Chen. Diversity, it's something that we talk about in every aspect of society, but so often left out of that conversation is the idea of viewpoint diversity. What is it? And more specifically, where has it gone and what can we do to make it more prevalent? Joining me tonight are two college students from Muhlenberg College to talk about their experiences with viewpoint diversity. Leah, Sam, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Let's start with this idea of viewpoint diversity. Both of you are students at Muhlenberg College here in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And Leah, you recently wrote a piece specifically about your experiences at Muhlenberg as a conservative, as a Republican on the campus that is predominantly progressive. Can you explain why you wrote that piece?
Yeah, I'm part of a fellows program on campus called the RJ Fellows. And as part of that, we're in a senior seminar culminating undergraduate experience. And I had to write a blog post about my experience on campus, my time on campus, and it could be about anything. And so it took me a while to come up with what I wanted to talk about, but I decided that it was really important to me to talk about being a conservative and my time on campus as a Republican, because I think I struggled a lot with that, especially my freshman and my sophomore year, right around the election of 2016. And so I wanted to get those viewpoints out. This was my last chance. I'm graduating in a couple weeks. So I wanted to sit down and I wanted to write this blog post, and I wanted my peers and my professors to know how I felt and my experience of being a Republican on campus.
And I've read it. It is a very, very well-written piece, and I think it's well worth reading. So thank you for writing that. In your piece, you talk about one of many experiences that you've had in your time at Muhlenberg, and you talk about a class that you had where you wrote an essay about the former president and General Dwight Eisenhower. And I'm actually going to read a portion of that. You wrote, "My first semester freshman year, I was in a couple science classes, my RJ Fellows FYS, which is first year seminar,
Yes.
I believe,
Yeah.
and a history class. I remember in that history class, I had to write a paper about Dwight D. Eisenhower. It was an opinion, and of course, I wrote favorably about the former Republican president. I got the paper back and had received a C grade. I was absolutely shocked because I thought it was a well-written paper. I went to talk to my professor about it. He had allowed me to revise the paper. He told me if I would just go back and reread the articles from class, I would find that my opinion may change. I was left speechless. The professor had given me a C because of my opinion in an opinion piece was wrong. I rewrote the paper giving the opposite opinion as the first time and ended up with an A." Walk me through that. Walk me through that class and that experience. So go ahead.
Okay, so what I think shocked me the most is this was my first semester freshman year. I came into college pretty moderate. I was definitely interested in politics. I felt like I kept up with politics, but I didn't feel like I had a strong opinion either way.
Sure.
And so I'm sitting in this history class and I'm just taking everything that we're reading, all the information at face value. And so I genuinely had the opinion that I thought Eisenhower was the better president, the better man between the two that we were talking about. And so I sat down and I wrote my paper. Wasn't trying to make a political statement. I wasn't trying to make my Republican viewpoints known. And I sat down and I wrote this paper. So when he said to me, "I think that your opinion would be different if you just reread the articles," I was less speechless. I was like, I didn't even realize I was making a political statement when I wrote this paper.
Do you remember what articles were assigned?
I don't. I know they were like from the time period.
Sure.
And it had a lot to do with policy of the time. And I can't remember the other president that we were comparing Eisenhower to, but it was just a lot of articles about those two presidents.
Sure. And I guess my question, and obviously your professor's not here where we ask him or her, did they say why, or he or she say why those articles were assigned? It's curious to me if they were assigning the articles to convince you to believe a certain way, right?
Yeah.
Or if they were assigning them as a tool of learning.
Yeah, unfortunately that class was so long ago, so I'm not sure. I would hope that he was choosing articles that was presenting the issue without bias, but
Sure.
like I said, I can't remember. As a student, I read them without bias. I read them at face value, and that's what I took away from them. My opinion is what I took away from them, but apparently it was not what he wanted.
And so you read the articles, your conclusion was you were supportive of President Eisenhower. You go back and revise your essay. You take the opposite
Opinion.
viewpoint.
Yep.
And you got a better grade for it.
A much better grade.
Same sources.
Same sources, same articles. Yes, he gave us the sources. So
Okay.
same articles, just with the opposite opinion.
And you were somewhat encouraged to do that, right?
Yes.
To switch your opinion.
Yeah, he literally, I could probably quote that. If you would just go back and reread the articles from class, you may find that your opinion would change.
Sure.
And so, of course, I was like, well, in order to get a better grade, I should probably write,
your opinion.
a different opinion.
Wow. Sam, you're also a senior at Muhlenberg, right? Talk to me about your experiences. Have you experienced anything similar? Have you seen anything similar?
When I was on campus as a freshman and a sophomore, it wasn't as clear, but around the time of the election leading up to 2016, that's when it got crazy, for lack of a better word. Professors in class that I had would openly, say how their willingness to vote for Hillary Clinton, and a lot of the classes were focused around, pro-Hillary Clinton statements and derogatory stuff towards the President Donald Trump. And, as a student, you sort of obviously saw their viewpoints, and sometimes when I tried to, raise my voice to sort of say things to that effect, I was sometimes shut down. But I think the point that it really came through was the day after the election. There was an event that was held that was populated by professors and students, and it was there was about 50 students and about 10 professors, and only two of the students, myself and another student, were Trump supporters. And we sat at a table alone, and we were berated for an hour and a half about our religious views, and one student actually told the other student, not myself, that they can't respect us anymore because of the views that we hold and the political views that we hold. And that really hit me hard as a student at a college, at a liberal arts college, no less, that's supposed to,
A student said that to you, to her.
A student said that to her.
And
yeah.
did the professors or the administrators jump in at all?
They said no. They did try to jump in a little bit and said, let's not be hasty, but they also said, which I thought was interesting, everybody's entitled to their own opinions. And I was like, and it sort of, that really hit me hard, because like that person can say to me that, I can't respect you anymore because of who you voted for, and yet I'm going to turn around, you're going to turn around and say that I can't speak my own voice about my opinion on presidency and other aspects of politics.
Right. Now, both of you are involved with Muhlenberg's College Republican chapter. The College Republicans is a national organization, and you're the president and vice president of the Muhlenberg chapter.
Yeah.
What has that been like on a campus that's predominantly progressive? Have you had backlash for that?
Definitely after the election. There was certainly incidents. There was death threats sent. There's a house on campus that's called the Republican House, where we hold parties and events and get-togethers and meetings.
Does the house have Greek letters? No, I'm kidding.
No.
GOP.
GOP.
Yeah, GOP. Yeah, there you go. I don't know what that is. Gamma, Omega, whatever.
Gamma, Omega, Pi.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the best party on campus. But after the election, the house, which was at that point was lived in by 4 college-age girls, started getting death threats. People were calling them and calling the house and like literally threatening them, and there were people driving by and yelling at the house and screaming obscenities, so much so that the whole night after the election, an Allentown police cruiser had to sit outside the whole night
Wow.
to make sure everything was okay.
Wow. And that was from the city of Allentown.
From the city, not a campus police officer,
they
a
delivered
city
police officer.
Yeah.
Wow.
To keep watch the entire night.
Wow. Do you sense that the pushback is coming predominantly from your classmates, or is it coming from faculty, staff, or the administration, or is there some mix?
I think it's definitely a mix.
Okay.
I think professors, it's more changing the topic when I start to speak in class, or cutting me off, or you got to get those like sideways like eye glances. Students, I was wearing a college Republican shirt the one day, and I was walking through student union, and a girl said to me, "Girl, you better take that off." Like, so it's pushback from everywhere. Sometimes it's a lot more blatant and
Sure.
and in your face and explicit. Sometimes it's more just like the side eye glances and the smaller things.
Sure.
And it especially hurts when it comes from the administration,
Yeah.
the people who are supposed to be, protecting our abilities to speak our minds. Maybe the professors won't have our backs, but the administration should. We're at this college to learn, and there's been several cases within our club where the administration has gone after us in effect to sort of shut us down in our ability to have free speech and open ideas spread on campus.
Sure. We're going to cut to a quick break. Hang tight. We'll revisit this when we come back. All right. Don't go away. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Face the Issues. I'm sitting with Leah and Sam, two students at Muhlenberg College, discussing Viewpoint diversity on our college campuses. Leah, Sam, thank you again so much for taking the time to join us.
No, thanks for having us.
When we left off, we were talking about some of the experiences both of you have had with viewpoint diversity on the college campus. And one of the things that is fascinating to me is that we talk about diversity and the need for diversity so much, and yet when it comes to viewpoint diversity, we somewhat go silent. And the funny thing is, one of the accusations, as we were talking about in the last segment, the level that you as conservatives on a college campus is that you don't value diversity. You were saying earlier that it seems that administrators will talk about protecting, or everyone has a right to their opinion, unless it's you as the one voicing it. Yeah. Have you ever approached the university to try to host speakers or to try to engage with about these ideas? And if so, how has that gone?
The one conversation that we can really point to was a few months ago. The Dean of Student Life actually contacted the club, contacted Leah as president, and invited us to go and speak with her about the Republican life on campus and what they can do, and sort of stuff, and plans for the future for the club and aspects in that regard. So we go to this meeting, and we're all sitting there, and she sort of points to us and says there's a small endowment that's given to the club in order to have speakers on campus, but we don't want anybody inflammatory. And so that's sort of, but it's like, who are you going to choose who's inflammatory and who's not inflammatory? And one of the things that hurt the most, and Leah can speak to this more, is what she said to the events that us as conservatives would actually want to go to.
Sure.
She made the comment, if you guys ever wanted to go see a local speaker, if there was something going on you guys wanted to go to, we could perhaps fund a bus. But of course, we would never send you guys to a KKK rally, as if that's something that we would want to go to. As Republicans, that's not something we would ever want to go to, and she's just assuming.
Was there ever a request filed to go to such a rally?
Absolutely not. Never.
And if I understand correctly, your club is actually probably one of the more diverse clubs on campus.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've got far more women than we have men.
Yeah.
And we have quite a few non-white students. We have kids from all majors, bio, neuroscience, the theater department, the political science department. We have kids who are members of the LGBTQ community. So I think we are a
Yeah.
very diverse
Sure.
club, yeah.
Another interesting aspect was at the same time that this meeting was going on with the dean, this college was prepping that night to host a BDS speaker.
What's BDS?
It's a speaker who holds the views that we should boycott BDS,
forget what exactly was it.
divest and sanction the state of Israel, as
Okay.
in we should completely. He was a Palestinian man who completely abhorred Israel and the values that it held. And this is at a college campus that's 40% Jewish.
Sure.
So how can this dean say that that is not inflammatory and able to be spoken, while someone with conservative views, such as a Ben Shapiro, for instance, who we actually suggested would, and she immediately said that that was way too inflammatory. An Orthodox Jew coming to speak to our students is out of the question.
So you're not proposing someone like a Milo Yiannopoulos that's been known as a provocateur. You're talking about people like Ben Shapiro or Bill Kristol, who are respected as thinkers in the field.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. And just for our viewers' sake, you're not actually asking for any special treatment.
Absolutely not.
No.
I just want to be able to give my opinion in class, to have an informed discussion without being cut off, without the topic being changed, without the eyes rolling and the side glances. And I want people to listen to my opinion, and I want them to take it seriously. They don't have to know where I'm coming from. They don't have to agree. But I think that's one of the most important things on a college campus. I have to sit in class every day and listen to people with different opinions than me. And that, for me, has only strengthened my opinions. And I think everyone should have to listen to the other viewpoints and decide for themselves if they truly believe what they believe.
Sure. You want to add to that?
I completely agree. It's the worst that can happen if a conservative speaker comes to campus is that the only thing that can happen if a conservative speaker comes to campus is two things. Either one, it strengthens the beliefs that you already held, or it makes you ponder them and think about them critically. And I mean, that's what college is all about.
Right.
And I mean, stopping us from being able to have that ability by not even allowing certain speakers on campus, even with the most tame of views that just happen to be slightly to the right, is really, I would say, a hindrance on having a full college experience.
Sure. If you had the chance, and I know you've met with your dean, if you had the chance to speak to not just your dean, but the president of your college, and to deans and administrators across the country, regardless of whether they're progressive or conservative, whether the campus is predominantly progressive or conservative, what message would you want to send to them?
Just stop pushing their opinions and their agenda. That, as Sam said, a college education is all about being well-rounded and hearing viewpoints from all sides. And as president or as dean or as a professor, your job is to make my education the best it can be. And the best way to do that is to bring in speakers of all viewpoints and of all backgrounds with all different ideas. And if you do that, everyone's going to benefit, not just myself, not just conservatives on campus, but everyone.
I completely echo that statement. The past semester, we had something put on by the Muhlenberg College Center for Ethics called Troubling Truth, which had speakers that told us about problems with diversity in the LGBTQ community, problems in the Black community, issues around the BDS speaker was another one that was involved in that talk. But it doesn't. That shows a lot of diversity from our school, but going back to the point of the show, it doesn't show any diversity in viewpoint. All of these people were preaching the same problems and are preaching the same issues that Republicans are ultimately, they claim, are responsible for. And
do you feel that your administrators, do you feel that they believe they're pushing a viewpoint? Or are we at the point where it's become assumed, this lack of viewpoint diversity has just become assumed, that they believe that they're doing the right thing?
I definitely think on college campus you are assumed liberal until proven conservative. And so I think that they're absolutely giving their students what their students want.
Okay.
I think that they're catering to their students, but they're not.
Sure.
They're catering to a percentage of their students.
Sure.
it ultimately seems like it's more of like a power trip. They
Sure.
want to make sure that they're the voice being heard, and they don't want anybody dissenting. So they're constantly going to preach their views because they're the ones they know really well, and they don't want anybody coming up to try and make them look the fool.
Sure.
It seems like it's a total power trip.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to share those experiences with us.
Yeah.
So we will come back and talk with Leah and Sam in a little bit, but we should make a note that we reached out to the administrators at Muhlenberg College and invited them to come on the program to address this very topic, and we received no response. But that invitation remains open, whether to the dean or to the president or anyone in the administration at Muhlenberg College. That is an open invitation to join us on this program to have that very conversation. But in absence of them being here today, it is worth noting that specifically what our students have said today, this is the purpose of the university. As countless people, much wiser than myself, have pointed out, if we cannot have these conversations on the college campus, then where can we? Even President Barack Obama had used this as an answer to the question numerous times, that if someone disagrees with you, the correct response is to have a conversation with them, not to tell them that they can't hold those views or that they can't express those views. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is not a liberal or conservative issue. Just as our conservative students have had these experiences on the predominantly progressive campus, there are also progressive students who experience similar things on predominantly conservative campuses. This is an issue about academic freedom, an issue about viewpoint diversity. If we are truly to learn and to grow, then shouldn't we be having these conversations with one another? Perhaps our views might change, but if not, our views will strengthen through that dialogue. This is the point of the university. This is the point of education. And our hope, I think, as well as our students' hope, is that we will once again return to those values. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Face the Issues. Here on this program, we believe it's not just enough to talk about the ideas. We need to be setting an example. That's the spirit behind our Hometown Heroes segment. We want to introduce you to individuals and organizations who are changing the world by changing their community, and whose journey is an inspiration to all of us. This evening, our Hometown Heroes are our guests from the show, Leah and Sam. Last question, why do both of you speak up then?
I've always been interested in politics, and you really feel that sometimes your voice is coming into a liberal school. Especially, I come from a town that's relatively conservative as well, and just the viewpoint that we were able to talk about these things, especially. We were able to talk about different ideas and different understandings, and I came from a very ethnically diverse town as well. And coming to this school, it really challenged me, the fact that how one-sided everything was. Like, everything I heard about college was true. The professors are all the horror stories. But yeah, and for a while there, in the first few months of my freshman year, I felt like Leah did. I felt like lost. Mm-hmm. But I was able to find a club with a great group of people who were able to sort of say, no, you're not the only one, and let's get together and talk about it.
And I think for me too, I've kept my opinion to myself for so long that now here I am ready to graduate. I'm talking about it. Like, I want people to know my opinion. And not just have I gotten support from the Republican Club, but I have found that my close friends support me, even though they're not Republican. My roommates, I'm on the field hockey team, they support me.
Regardless of political
Regardless. And I do want to say that the professor that I wrote this blog post for, he emailed me a few days ago, and he thanked me for my honesty in my blog post, and he told me that it's been a pleasure to have me in class, and that he appreciates me writing this. And so, surprisingly, I have found a lot of support. Maybe professors just don't realize how much they push their agenda, but I think if you start speaking up, you'll be surprised by how many people do support you.
One last thing, I feel that we're very confident for the future. We had an event a couple of weeks ago for incoming freshmen, and we had a table set up with like Muhlenberg College Republicans, and we had so many people come up to us, so many students, so many parents came up to us and said, "We're happy that this is here."
Sure.
And there were students who were like, "Wow, I'm a conservative. I didn't know." And on the flip side, there were students who were like, "I don't really hold Republican views, but I'm happy that you're here."
That's awesome.
And just that's the future. Those are the students that are going to be coming in next year after we're gone. That's an awesome feeling that maybe we are leaving behind a good legacy.
Sure. Great. Well, thank you guys
Yeah.
both again so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Our hometown heroes, students all over the country, whether you're Republican or Democrat, conservative or liberal, regardless of your political viewpoint, regardless of your religion. This is to all the students who speak out, who have the courage to do so, even when it's hard. It's not as easy on our college campuses, but as Leah and Sam have shared with us, you can find your voice. And so we encourage you to do just that. Find your voice, speak up, and you might be surprised just how much support you do have around you. That's all the time we have tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you'll continue this conversation with us online. Just use the hashtag #FaceTheIssues. And join us again next week as we unpack another issue with another guest. My name is Sam Chen. On behalf of all of us here at Face the Issues, thank you and good night.